Welcome to Science and Sports. In the upcoming episode, I'm talking to Mike Ederer. He's an athletic coach at the University of Vermont and is currently working with the men's hockey, soccer, and skiing team. Mike and I discussed training aspects across three different sports, managing load in season and optimizing readiness. We talked about an holistic approach to training and the importance of learning and continuous education. Have fun. This podcast is presented by Like Me, your partner for social media and online marketing from Weiden, and Praxis im Salzhaus, your contact for physiotherapy and health in Altenstadt. Okay, Mike, thanks for hopping on the podcast with me. Can you give me a quick introduction of you and a little bit of your background, please?
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Excited for this. This is awesome. So I'm from Buffalo, New York, in the United States. Grew up playing sports. My primary sport was ice hockey. Took that to the next level. Played Division I ice hockey at St. Lawrence University in New York. And then from there, once I graduated college, kind of got into the sport performance field and went back to graduate school to get my master's degree in exercise science. Started interning at a couple different places and gradually became a full-time strength and conditioning coach. And now I'm currently at the University of Vermont, working with primarily the men's ice hockey program here, along with our men's soccer program and our ski team here. It's my first year here, so a lot of new things, a lot of new challenges, but it's been really fun so far, and I've enjoyed it. So in a good spot, but continuous growth from here on out.
You just mentioned that you are like part of the strength and conditioning team for hockey, soccer, and skiing. Do you have unique workouts or demands in each sport, or do you have like overall workouts you can do with all of the players?
Yeah, there's definitely differences between each one, and I think part of that is not so much the specificity to sport, but also how we schedule the teams in, for example. So like I said, my primary sport is hockey, so I see those guys every single day. Obviously we're in season now, so a lot of our time is spent, obviously maintaining qualities, but taking guys who need development, um, and working on that with them too. So we're not necessarily lifting every single day, um, but I do see them every day.
Yeah.
So we're focused on maintaining strength, preventing soft tissue injury, making sure readiness is there, and that sort of thing. When it comes to the differences between that and the other teams, so for example, now soccer is going to be starting their off-season training next week, following winter break. So with them for the first 4 weeks, it's going to be reestablishing, their aerobic base, focusing on strengthening the hamstrings, getting them back to running capacity, increasing the number of ground contact times that they have over that 4 weeks, because, when it comes to, the middle of the spring, they actually have a mini season, where they're going to be playing about 5 or 6 games. So it's kind of a spring season for them. And that's kind of the difference in those two sports, is that, soccer for these guys is a year-round sport. So we have our fall season, which is our main season. They get a little break over the winter. They come back next week. We have 4-5 weeks, and then they start preparing for matches. So we have the spring semester to kind of work on that. Once the summer hits, these guys on the soccer team, they go back and they play on club teams all summer. So the difference between those two sports primarily is that hockey has a full off season and the soccer guys don't. So it's a little bit different in how we manage our load and manage our stress. With hockey in the off season, we can really, take some time to apply a lot of physiological and psychological stress to them during select periods. Whereas in soccer, we have to carefully pick and choose, what periods of time we want to do that. When it comes to the ski team, I don't necessarily see them as much. I see the alpine skiers 3 times a week. I see the Nordic ski team twice a week. When it comes to alpine ski, the big thing for me is looking at the types of injuries they have. So we see a lot of low back pain. We see herniated discs, a lot of FAI and hip impingement sort of thing. So when it comes to their programming, I'm going to be very careful about exercise selection, to make sure that, like, hey, we're putting them in a good position to get stronger, to maintain their strength, and to be explosive and to tolerate their sport without, coming at a cost of soft tissue injury, herniated discs, that sort of thing. So I would say, in terms of programming, 90% of everything is going to be the same. We want to get them strong. We want to get them fast, powerful, mobile, all these things, but we're going to have and apply a few specific tweaks to each sport to tailor to the demands of that.
You just mentioned the readiness, like during the season. I want to talk about that in a little bit. What I'm really interested in is, especially in skiing, because I have like no real knowledge in the strength and conditioning of a ski team, especially in alpine and Nordic skiing. What are the biggest challenging in managing three such different kinds of sports, especially in skiing, if you don't see them like every day?
Yeah, so with the ski team, obviously you have two different branches of that. You have that alpine ski, and then you have Nordic ski. So during their season, I won't see them as much, strictly because they have to drive an hour and a half to go ski every day. So I'm going to see them once or twice a week. When it comes to that, like especially with the alpine skiers, like their legs get sore, a little bit beat up from skiing itself. So when it comes to programming, we're obviously going to go on the low volume side of things. Try to address some areas, where they necessarily don't get action from. One of my principles is especially in season, to give the athlete what they don't get during their sport. So for example, for an alpine skier, they're going to have sore quads. They're going to have, tight, sore low backs. So what we want to focus on in the weight room are things like, improving adductor strength and maintaining adductor strength, keeping the hamstrings and glutes activated, firing and strong, and a lot of core strength with that. And it's kind of similar for the Nordic skiers too. The only difference with that sport is it's going to be more of an endurance-based sport. So similar, we're focusing on core strength, we're focusing on adductor strength, keeping the hamstrings, glutes firing, trying to put their body back into a better posture so that they're not getting overuse injuries. But this is actually my first year working with an entire ski team. So I've sat down when I first got here, did some research, started watching the sport a little bit more, seeing what they needed, talking to other people about, hey, like, how did you manage them in season, this sort of thing, talking to athletic trainers, trying to get a feel for, who had what injuries last year and who was dealing with what. So it's been good so far. Our team, our athletes on the ski team are feeling good. And when it comes to their in-season period, it's very short. It's about 6 weeks long. So their primary objective is to make sure they're ready to ski at all times. So for my role outside of that is saying, hey, like, you're going to come in, you're going to do a lift. We're not going to smoke the legs, but we're going to make sure that your hips feel great. We're going to make sure that your core is strong. We're going to make sure that your back is not getting sore and you're not having pain there too. And a lot of that is coordinating with our athletic training staff, or as you guys call it, the physio staff, and being on the same page with those things.
Do you work together with the different coaches or the coaching teams to align your programming with the goals they have on the ice or on the soccer field?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big ways that I'll do that and communicate with coaching staffs is through force plate technology, and it's, as simple as doing a counter movement jump every week or every 2 weeks. So that's kind of where I'll manage the development side with our athletes. So for example, with hockey, they jump right now in season. We'll jump as much as we can. Usually it's once a week. We've had some network problems with our Wi-Fi, so some weeks we couldn't do it. But I'll look at everyone's individual jumps, see where they're at, see what direction they're trending in, taking a look at metrics like modified RSI, um, relative braking force, relative propulsive force, that sort of thing. And if someone's dropping off in season, I'll have that conversation with the coaches, with the hockey coaches, and then I'll also have that conversation with the athlete too, and perhaps make a tweak to his program and say, hey, like, I was looking at your metrics here. This is kind of where you're falling off. This is the change that we're going to make to your training. And perhaps that change is a little bit more difficult. Perhaps on a Monday, if we play on a Friday, perhaps if we're training on a Monday, they're going to need just a little bit more to build that deficit back up. But it also could be a fatigue problem. So that's where the catapult devices that we use come into play too. So if I see, a guy or a player who I can flag down for having too much workload, and then I can look at his force plate numbers, his force plate metrics, then I can say, all right, well, there's a little bit of a relationship here. He's having, a really high load on the ice, and his jump metrics are going down. So we can, have that conversation with him as well. I can have conversations with the coaches and say, hey, like, we just need to manage this a little bit more. But for the most part, I'll use all that technology for what I do in the weight room. Because our hockey coaching staff is very good about managing load on the ice. They're not skating the guys to the ground every single day, which is great, and it shows because our guys are feeling good, and it's halfway through the year. Very similar with soccer too as well. Once we get into our off-season training here, we'll get them on the force plate. We'll see, who's where, what deficits each guy has, or if they have any at all. Where do they need development? And kind of now that this is my first off season with them, I can develop that relationship with the guys and get to know them more physically. Whereas, over the past, this fall during the in season, it was more so about, okay, let's keep these guys strong. Let's give the low minute guys a little bit more work. But most importantly, like, our goal is to go win a national championship. So we want our best players being at their best and feeling at their best all the time. But ultimately, there's a lot of small things that you can do that go a long way with athletes' development. So I'll work very closely and keep a close eye on all of these athletes with hockey and soccer. And if someone needs something specific, they're going to get it.
Yeah, it's for me, it's a big. It's hard to get everyone on the same page, especially if you're a strength coach who works alone with 25 players or more in the weight room. So here we're using a monitoring system called First Speed Technologies. You probably heard of it before, and we're monitoring the workload, the training load, the recovery for sure as well in the weight room and on the ice. Monitoring systems are you using to balance the intensity during a week, and especially in season when you have big games coming up? And like you said, you want your players to be at the best on the game
Yeah,
days.
we use Catapult Sports. It's a GPS system. Essentially, it tells us, their average player load per minute, explosive efforts. Those are going to be my big three metrics this year, just because this is my first time using Catapult. You can also put a heart rate monitor inside of the Catapult vest, so it also tracks heart rate. It'll give me their max heart rate, average heart rate. There's a million metrics you can pick from on Catapult, but I'll kind of look at that too to determine, how hard practice or game was. For me, when it comes to the technology and the tracking devices, I always like to take the approach of, I should have a system set in place in the event that I don't have this technology. So, kind of a holistic approach, but I'll use the Catapult to help fine tune our decision making, because they're giving us, raw metrics and raw data from our activity. But I'll look at our schedule. I'll know our hockey schedule inside and out and say, okay, we have one game this weekend. We have two games every single weekend for the next month and a half. So that tells me that, okay, our guys generally are going to be a little bit more fatigued. So I can already plan ahead and make some slight changes to the weight room. Like I said previously, our hockey coaching staff is very good about managing load on the ice, and they're not skating the guys to the ground every single day. Um, but for the most part, I'll try to stick to a good high-low model during the week. Monday is going to be our quote unquote harder lift day. Although it's not going to be a high volume day, I tend to avoid that at all costs in season unless we have a complete off period. But I like to get a feel for what the guys are doing and just kind of have that human interaction, whether that's asking them how they feel, having one-on-one conversations with our high minute players. Um, so I first and foremost get a good feel for our schedule. Who's our opponent? Are we playing a top 10 team? Is it going to be a tough weekend? And then I can kind of plan the next week ahead, take a look at our catapult data, fine tune some decisions, see who had a excessively high load, see who had a low load, and then also look at force plate numbers and say, okay, are we dropping off a little bit in our metrics, based on having a high workload? Do we need to tone things down? Do we need to have, a conversation with this athlete? And the answer, might not be in the gym. It might lie outside of the gym somewhere. It could be, improving sleep. It could be improving nutrition. It could be adjusting nutrition based on a higher workload, that sort of thing. So I think there's a lot that goes into it. At the end of the day, like, I like to have the approach that I can manage load without technology if I didn't have it, but I'm going to use catapult or force plate, to my advantage to fine tune these decisions throughout the season, just to make sure, obviously our guys are staying fresh. And then, on the other hand, guys who aren't playing are still getting enough workload to the point where if they were to get into the lineup, they're ready to go and they're feeling good.
You just mentioned the nutrition aspect. How is it on university level? Do you have someone working there who integrates nutrition or mental health or sleeping aspects into the daily routine of the
We
players?
we don't have a nutritionist on site at UVM, so all of us kind of play a little bit of a role in that. Our physio, our athletic trainer here, does in-body scans with our hockey guys, so we can see their lean body mass, body fat percentage, see if they're dropping off, see if they're going up in these metrics. And then, based on that, he'll get our hockey guys on the MyFitnessPal app and show them the adjustments that they need to make. That's kind of our main protocol in terms of nutrition. I'll have conversations with our players all the time. They'll obviously, hockey players are very dialed in with that stuff. So they'll come up to me, hey, like, what should I be eating? I've been doing this, doing that. I started feeling a little slow or a little sluggish. And I'll say, okay, well, let's try this instead. And I'll ask them how much protein they're taking in, how many carbs they're taking in, overall caloric intake, that sort of thing. I think it'd be, obviously it's great to have, a nutritionist on site, someone who's trained and all that stuff. But, for myself, for our athletic training staff, like, we have to kind of work together to give that service to our guys and our athletes. So it's important,
Yeah,
though. I mean,
For sure.
like I said earlier, a lot of the problems can lie outside of the gym, outside of the ice or the field, and those are the non-negotiables: nutrition, sleep, hydration, stress management. These are all, crucial things that play a role in optimizing readiness and ultimately feeling good as much as you can.
When you work with the university now, all of your guys are almost the same age, right?
Yeah, from age, the hockey guys are a little older, 19 to 25. Soccer is going to be 18 to 24. The ski team is also a little bit older too, so, anywhere from 18 to 25. on that team.
Do they already have the right mindset for the right preparation when it comes to nutrition or mental health for their performance on game days or races?
Well, yeah, I mean, a lot of the young athletes, I think the great thing about college athletics and the NCAA now is that you're seeing a lot of programs and a lot of teams within schools that provide such a good development model, and that includes everything. It includes a lot of resources. You have resources, or at least people that can guide you on nutrition. They can guide you on recovery, sleep, hydration, supplement intake, things like stress management techniques and meditation. But I would say a lot of young athletes coming into college were never, I guess, educated on, the type of nutrition plan that they should be following or the types of things that they should be eating. So you'll see a lot of like 18-year-olds coming into college, like going to the dining hall, eating fried foods, but they just don't know. You know what I mean? So I think you have to really, if you see that
Hmm.
or if you notice athletes doing that, or even if the athletes come to you and say, hey, like, I'm feeling tired all the time. Well, you can ask them, hey, how's your diet? How's your sleep? How's your hydration? Are you staying up too late doing homework? Are you not managing your time well? And when it comes to the nutrition piece, they'll usually tell you what they eat. Most of the time, with a lot of athletes, it's not enough, right? So they're not fueling their bodies enough for their sport. A sport like hockey, a sport like soccer, you're burning a ton of calories, right? So you need that energy. You need to make sure you're fueling enough, and doing so with the right foods. So in general, a lot of most of the older athletes have a very good grasp on what they should be doing nutrition wise to prepare. A lot of the younger athletes need a little bit more guidance because they were never given that. With hockey, these guys are coming from junior teams where you know perhaps they're not put in the best situation, and they're eating out a lot. They're going on the road. You're getting eating pizza, you're eating subs on the bus, that sort of thing. And now you're at college and you have access to a whole dining hall. You got tons of options. So if you can help educate those athletes on those options, and what's going to fuel their body best, it's going to help them a lot, and they will listen too, because you're at a Division I school, you're at the highest level in college, and like these guys are going to compete. These guys are going to be at their best, and that's the standard. So they'll listen to you. It's great.
Yeah, yeah, same for me, but I'm working with guys from the age of 17 to
Yeah,
41, 42 last year. So it's a little difficult to get everyone on the same page, but like you said, they all have the same goal. They all want to be professional. Um, they want to win championships. They want to get paid. They want to have fun. So you will get them on the right track and on the right goal if you have. But you have to talk to each of them individually. But also, if their mindset isn't there, it's pretty hard.
absolutely. I mean, you're always going to come across like one older veteran player who's been doing the same thing for years, and they just know how to go out and play regardless. I think Alex Ovechkin drinks Coca-Cola on the bench. So it's like some guys can just almost
Yeah,
do whatever they want, and those are one in a million. You have to explain that to certain athletes too, because like, hey, if you're not playing, or if you're you know not at the top of the totem pole, like you got to find some better habits that are going to make you a little bit better, make you more competitive. So that's, yeah, I'm sure you see a ton of difference with that age group.
for sure, especially if you have guys who act real professional. They eat well, they don't drink, they work hard, but they maybe don't get the same ice time as the star players or whatever you want to call them. And then it's really hard to get them like to continue to work hard because it's just like it's just a screenshot of right now. You never know what happens in a week or two. So it's always a day-to-day talk with each and every one to get them on the same page and have them work for the same goal. But you know it the same as I do.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're doing your training, are you running more of like small group session, or do you have the whole team in at once?
So most of the times we play
Yeah.
Friday and Sunday. Sometimes we have a Tuesday game, but during Christmas we had a lot of games, but now it's on a regular basis, it's Friday, Sunday. So we have Monday off, and then we practice as a team on Tuesday and Wednesday morning in the gym for an hour. And I do a little activation on Thursday and sometimes on Saturday, and a little so in the gym sessions, to come back to your question, I try to make everyone happy with their own plan. It's a lot of times
Yeah,
it's not that easy.
absolutely.
So I try to split them into a couple of groups. If you work with them for a couple of years, you know who has good endurance, who has good strength, who is explosive, and who lacks some of those technical details or technical stuff. So I try to put them in kind of a couple of small groups so they all work basically the same drills, but a little different load. So for some guys, I do more of a hypertrophy training. I hope I
Yeah, oh
pronounced it
yeah,
right.
spot on.
And for some guys, it's it's a hard word
Yeah,
as a German. Um, and for some guys, I do more of a endurance workout or more of a explosive workout. And on Thursday, I grab every guy who's younger than me. Now I'm getting older as well with
yeah,
28, so there are a
right
lot of
there with you.
young guys, and take them to the gym for a couple of explosive drills. Same on Saturday. And then, like you said at the beginning, with the guys who didn't play a lot, I most of the times try to have them do on-ice sprints on the next practice a little bit to get their
Yeah,
trim up and have their workload not fall off with the lack
right.
of ice time. And a couple of times it depends when we have always one home and one road game. If we have a home game on Sunday, we play at 6:30. It's not too late to go a little bit to the gym with a couple of guys for some bike sessions or a small workout. If we have a home game at 8, it's close to midnight when we finish with everything. So most of the times we skip that and do it then on Saturday.
Yeah, yeah. You get so late to the point where it's like, all right, like, what
Yeah,
are they going to be getting out of it? You're kind of pushing back their sleep schedule and stuff.
yeah. I was thinking a lot about doing something on the day off on Monday, but then I'm like, as you know that I played as
Yeah,
well in the past. Um, you need your day off somehow. So I don't know if I should force them in a couple of guys or just let them relax for at least one day a week. How is it university level? You have a day off, or is every day always a little bit to do?
yeah. We have so in the NCAA in season with hockey, you have to have one day off. It's a rule. So if we usually play on a Friday and Saturday. So usually our true off day is Sunday. If we play on a Sunday, our off day is going to be Monday. But if our off day is Sunday, or if let's say our off day is Monday, um, the ice will still be available for guys who want to voluntarily go out there, get some touches in, get some skating in, that sort of thing. Um, on their off day, I'll kind of leave the weight room out of it. That makes sense. Like, hey, if you want to get moving, like the ice is there. Um, but an off day in the gym is going to be an off day in the gym just because of that NCAA rule, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
On our side of things as an NCAA employee, like you can't play around too much with that. Kind of make sure guys get their off day. But most guys who don't play or who have been out of the lineup will utilize that open ice to go out and just get some touches, work on some skill work on their own, that sort of thing. So,
okay. Okay, for the last topic I want to talk with you about, we talked a little bit about the athlete's mindset and the preparation. How is your take on the importance of us coaches, strength and conditioning coaches, or even head coaches from different sports to continue to learn and continue to educate themselves and people who work closely with you to be to be a better coach or better strength and conditioning coach?
Yeah, I think, so the way I like to look at it, it's a holistic approach. Um, but my favorite saying when it comes to preparation in the sport performance field is that ultimately we want our athletes to get really good at feeling good on a consistent basis. So, a lot of that comes with our guidance, and it goes beyond just sets and reps, and numbers and this and that. Um, but like I said, like we want to educate the athletes to get to a point where they can do this stuff without relying on us. That makes sense. So I want our hockey and our soccer guys to be able to, if I weren't around for a day, I would want them to know how to prepare their bodies for a practice, prepare their bodies, for a game, and to really feel, each exercise and each method that we do, and to figure out what works for them, right? And then on the other side of things too, like I
Hmm.
truly believe that if our athletes, are at a higher quality of life, they're generally happy, they're less stressed, they're going to perform better too. So when it comes to the weight room, like as a coach, like I approach the entire process just like a human being. Like the way I talk to them, the way I explain, it's not, at this dictatorship level where it's like, oh, you have to move this weight, you got to do this, do that, or else you're soft, that sort of thing. It's a human to human interaction, and it's me telling them this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, um, and to make sure that they're feeling good from it. And if they're not, athletes aren't afraid to, come up to me, have a conversation, and sometimes the problem, like I said, might lie outside of the gym. Um, but if our guys
Hmm.
are and our athletes are in a good spot mentally, you know, from the training, from on ice or on field practice, from their nutrition, from their sleep and their hydration and stress management, they're going to be at a higher quality of life. They're going to feel better waking up every single day, and that's going to allow them to be, more
For
motivated
sure.
to do their task for that day.
Yeah.
And there's going to be days where, the athletes aren't motivated, but they'll understand the discipline of it, and having a better mindset with that allows them to be more disciplined. So I think,
Yeah.
you can teach athletes about, mindset and mental preparation. And I'm really big on meditation and you know, natural techniques, journaling, grounding, getting outside in nature. Like I think these are very important to help clear the mind, especially meditation. That's something I've been doing for 10 years now. Learned that from one of my mentors. And, I've saw the benefits from that with myself over time. And that's something that I teach to all my athletes, and the athletes love it. It's a period of time where we take 10 minutes, and it's like, okay, we're just going to shut things off because you have class, you're on your phone all day, you have practice, you got video, you have workouts, you have exams, you got travel, you got all this stuff going on. Um, so I think it's important for them to really learn how to shut their brain off, um, take in less sensory information during certain periods of time, and to understand that that's going to help them process information better. It's going to help them decrease stress. And that's our job as performance coaches, is to, essentially manage stress, whether that's, a period of time where we want to stress them out through training, or it's a period of time where we want them to lower their stress. Um, so I think like when it comes to mindset and mental preparation, a lot of it has to do with great work ethic and preaching that. For me, it's attention to detail, and how things translate to the sport, but also to life. But there's a lot of things that really add up to help our athletes get into a better mental space, for them to develop that mindset, to learn the skill of dialing in on a daily basis, understanding that you can't just
Yeah.
dial it in. You have to learn how to dial it in, right? So then it eventually
Yeah.
becomes this switch that you just flip on when you want to do it. You're doing it. You're dialed in. You're able to learn a skill, and you become a better athlete because of it.
Yeah. For sure. I'm right with you. Last question. I want to talk to you about how do you stay updated on the latest trends in sports science and strength and conditioning, especially working in three different sports?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think to be honest, I'm a little all over the place with that. So for my certification, we got to do continuing education. You know, that can be a course, it could be seminars, it could be projects, that sort of thing. I think nowadays, where you kind of get sparked on new knowledge is social media. If you're following a lot of great coaches and practitioners out there, like that stuff, those are things that you'll see on Instagram or TikTok or Twitter, and then be like, okay, like this is cool. This is something I didn't know. Now I'm gonna go online and do some real research on this. Um, so that's what I like to do. Like I like to have my Instagram and Twitter feed be, educational. Noteworthy strength and conditioning coaches, physical therapists, chiropractors, um, life coaches, all sorts of people that, bring up new ideas. And, you know, I see things, I see new techniques, I see trends, research, and then I can be like, oh, wow, like this might be useful for this team, or this might work with this group of athletes. So I can go, then look deeper into it. I got my notebook right here, taking notes, learning stuff. And, eventually once I really nail it down, I can start applying things. But for the most part, like I was never the type of person to read one book or to read one school of thought and say, this is what I'm going to be doing for programming, and that's it. Like I've learned from a lot of different people out there. I've taken bits and pieces from a lot of different schools of thought and kind of made it my own, system so far. I think there's not one best way of doing things. Every coach has their system, and it's whatever works for them, within their mindset and their, resources and space and things like that. But yeah, I mean, for all the coaches out there, social media is great. Like pick stuff up on there, take it to a new level, do some deep research, take notes, learn how to apply it, and you'll be a better coach because of it.
For sure, social media is perfect to learn and keep updated on things if you look for
Hmm.
the right stuff and if you find the right people in your research topic that you trust. You know it's a good workout. You know it's a person who does the right stuff. Then I'm right with you, yeah, for sure. And it's easy because everyone is always on their phone, and you can always learn and always improve on the skills that you're missing.
Absolutely. There's things out there that, could force you to unlearn things that you've learned in the past in order to get better and to learn new stuff. That's the way I
Yeah,
like to look at it, is when I learn new things, okay, maybe this is a better way. Maybe I need to unlearn what I learned in the past because it wasn't necessarily
yeah,
right. But at the end of the day, sport performance, um, this is a this is an incomplete science, so it's a never-ending journey of learning and researching and applying new concepts, which is why we love it,
yeah, for sure. Mike, it was a pleasure talking to you. Congratulations again to the NCAA soccer championship you've been a
Thank
part
you
of.
so much.
I hope we stay in touch. And like I said, thanks for your time. And I hope to talk to you again one day.
Absolutely. Thanks again, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye bye.
That's it for this episode of Science and Sports. If you enjoyed my podcast, please subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. Your feedback is very important to me, so I look forward to your ratings and comments on your favorite podcast platform. Feel free to share the podcast with friends, colleagues, and anyone interested in sports science, athletics, performance, and health. Together we can inspire even more people about this exciting topic.